Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Itron and Zpryme's Power Pitch event. We are thrilled to hear from our finalist companies and their innovative presentations. We started this competition with a total of 35 companies across 4 categories: grid management and distribution automation, smart cities, distributed intelligence, and lastly, utility IoT. After close consideration, we entered the semifinals with 20 companies, and today we'll be hearing from the top 12. Let's go over some of the rules just so we're all on the same page. We will announce each category and introduce each company by name. Once your company name has been called, we will spotlight you. Have your presentations ready to put up on your screen. Each company will have 5 minutes for their presentation and 2 minutes of Q&A from the judges. Sarah Peugeot will introduce your company name and time your presentation. Then she will direct each company through the presentations. Our judging criteria considers whether or not the company leverages Itron technology, it has product viability, it has been tested or piloted with a utility or another partner, it solves a clear industry problem, it's innovative, it has clear value proposition, and overall presentation skills. We encourage our audience to be active in the chat feature, as we may even use questions that you ask. Judges, if you're ready, we will begin the presentation. Sarah, will you introduce our first presenter in the grid management and distribution automation category?
Thank you, Joyce. Yes, our first presenter today will be Cognite, and it is a pre-recorded conversation, and there will be no questions following the pre-record.
Hello and good morning. My name is Gabe Prado. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing for Power and Utilities at Cognite. Cognite is an industrial software company with headquarters in Austin, Texas. And today I'm going to talk to you about making AMI data more extensible and valuable with an evolved industrial data platform. We all know that AMI data is really critical to grid operations today. We use it for detecting outages and creating response plans. We use it to forecast demand, and we use it to plan for where we're going to invest our capital. But in the broader scope of things, across data that's both created and collected across the grid, AMI data is in a very large pond. We know that there's data being created all over the place in different frequencies and different standards, different types of data. And collectively, the goal is to create better data-driven operational visibility for more of these operations to work in tandem. Now, integrating data to that end still remains a very complex problem. We know that a lot of time is still spent for searching for and preparing data. And so modern data platforms need to focus on a new set of skills, right? Needs to have certain amount of automation of certain data functions, needs to provide more granularity when it comes to data relationships and how data relates to each other. It needs to provide and facilitate more data trust so that users and consumers can understand and trust the data that they're applying, as well as create a path for templatization and reusability. We also know that this has to happen over and over. So creating applications using these methods happens over and over. So the goal is to really drive efficiency in how these applications can be both created and maintained over time. Now, this is where we introduce Cognite Data Fusion, the data ops platform built for industry. Cognite Data Fusion is a collection of software tools bundled into a data operations platform that help you develop, scale, and enrich applications with AMI and all your other IT, OT, and ET data at a significantly faster clip, right? So this includes tools around data governance and lineage, tools for data contextualization, and it's completely interoperable with the existing software stack. Now, this is our approach is based around creating and maintaining contextualized knowledge graphs that map and keep track of all the relationships that exist with your existing data. That way you can augment data over time. You don't need to have everything in order today, but you can leverage the data that you have for applications and then over time build your data model to better reflect the trajectory of your business. Now, one of the tools that we use to build this data model is called entity matching. And this is a very common problem where you have data that exists and corresponds to the same asset or the same data object, but exists in different sites or different systems. right? So in this example, we're actually looking at ERP data compared to an to the same data in SAP, though it's labeled slightly differently. And this is a very common problem where you have slightly different naming conventions and labeling standards that you have to marry together. Now, what we're doing here is actually creating an algorithm that's going to perform those mappings and actually elevate the mappings to an SME for approval, and as well as provide explainability into why it chose to map those relationships together. So here's the explainability, right? We've actually extracted the pattern for why the algorithm thinks that the two data sets in different source systems map to each other. This way, a subject matter expert can actually go in, validate that the rules are correct, rather than having to go line by line and actually perform those mappings themselves. So this is one example of many data operations tools. Now, the way that this data model is used is actually at one of our customers in Norway. So they started by taking their existing SIM and expanding and making it extensible with more operational data. So by expanding their data model, they're actually able to perform and springboard multiple applications using the same set of data, right? So they were looking at power system analysis and they were able to reduce their time to insight. They were looking at asset management use cases as well, and were able to both create and deploy health indexes that reduced their cost by $2 million a year. They were able to create digital twins using visual data from some of their sites, as well as deploy autonomous missions with robotics, all because they were basing this off of a common data foundation and able to drive a lot of efficiency into their process. So it turns out that every industry has these same data problems. We've actually been working with oil and gas and manufacturing and renewables quite a lot. Power and utilities this technology is market ready for power and utilities today. And with our technology partners, we're really well positioned to address this market need for better data management tools. That's my presentation. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris Holt. That was Gabe from Cognite. Judges, if you have your scoring sheet at this time, you may fill out your rubric. This again is the grid management and distribution automation category. We have the 3 companies in this category, and that was Cognite. The next presenter, we're running a little bit of a head schedule, so we could ask the next presenter to get their screen ready if they are online, is going to be Eaton. Ryan Brager, do we have you on from Eaton?
I am here.
How are you today, Ryan?
I am doing well, thank you.
Fantastic. Would you like to share your screen with us?
I will right now. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Fantastic. I will begin the timer. You'll have 5 minutes and then 2 minutes from questions from the judges. At 5 minutes, I will give you about 20 seconds for you to finish your thought, and then I will jump on. So I'll let you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'd like to start by thanking Itron and Zpryme for inviting us to be part of the 2021 Power Pitch event. And I'd also like to thank the judges for taking time out of their day to listen to our presentations and provide valuable feedback. As many of you know, the industry is going through a transformation. Many states and utilities have announced renewable goals to reduce carbon emissions. To attain their goals, utilities are retiring coal power plants and increasing their build out of renewable energy generation. With this transition, utilities are looking to incorporate DER resources to offset the loss of predictable generation source. They're also dealing with distributed systems that are designed with expectation of the power flow to move in one direction. Distributed generation resources are shifting the paradigm as power can flow both directions. This change requires new solutions to support bidirectional power flow. And finally, electric vehicles have been emerging for over a decade, but the trends are starting to indicate significant growth over the next 10 years. As a major consumer load, the electric vehicle will put additional strain on the system with the need for more localized management of resources. Demand response has been a tool for reducing capacity for many years. However, as new renewables and electrification start to impact the system, the industry is rethinking how to manage controllable resources. New solutions are needed to support the resiliency of the grid. With the right technology, DER resources can be used for both system services and local issues. Each utility has a set of reliability challenges. The combined Itron and Eaton solution can address the challenges utilities face today and ensure that they are prepared for the future. In collaboration with Itron, Eaton has developed a DER controller with an integrated Itron NIC. The solution is designed for compatibility with any Itron Gen X network deployed by the utility. The DER controller can be deployed without field intervention or setting up a sub-network. This allows for management of DER resources by transmitting messages over the utility's secure network directly to the DER controller. In addition, the solution leverages the Itron Gen X network's full two-way capabilities, such as using traps to transmit acknowledgements and control state changes. Finally, the solution incorporates Itron's software applications, allowing for standard integrations with the utility's preferred DERMS or DRMS platform. In addition to capacity management, the solution can address many of the challenges utilities face today and will face tomorrow. For system-level services driven from the central dispatch, the solution leverages Itron's network capabilities to quickly transmit operational signals to the field resources. For issues that require a near instantaneous response or are localized, the Eaton DER controller will detect and perform an autonomous control to address the disturbance. Finally, the number and types of controllable DER resources available is expanding. Each DER has different characteristics that should be considered in maximizing the number of grid services it can provide. The Eaton DER controller supports multiple local algorithms to help utilities optimize the DER resource without significant impact to the end consumer. The joint Itron and Eaton solution has moved past pilot phase and is being fully deployed at an electric cooperative in Minnesota. There are 30,000 DER controllers installed to date, with an additional 20,000 to be installed over the next couple of years. The system was operational for the 2021 summer control season and is being used to manage multiple types of DER resources. The Eaton DRMS has been deployed for this program and is integrated with the cooperative GIS to configure the solution to support localized congestion. The utility has also taken advantage of the two-way reporting of the DER controller to gain insights on the operational behavior of the DER asset and identify potential issues on the distribution system. In just the first year, the utility has gained significant value from the deployment and expects to discover additional benefits in the years to come. To recap the benefits of the solution, the Eaton DER controller leverages the Itron Gen X network for end-to-end security and two-way communications. The Gen X two-way capabilities give utilities the ability to gain additional insights that cannot be gained from other solutions. It uses the Itron network's fast message delivery capability for centralized grid services. The DER controller is also capable of performing local autonomous control when near instantaneous response is required. And finally, the DER controller is designed to optimize the performance of multiple DER resources through built-in algorithms. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. You may hold your screen up while we go for 2 minutes from questions from the judges. Judges?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Kurt. Can you talk a little bit about that controller and how, what does it take to install it? I mean, what's the typical configuration for that, or configurations?
Sure. The typical configuration is you'll need a power source, so typically a 120/240 source. You could use a 24-volt source in some configurations, and then ultimately, if you have it on a higher load type where you have 277/480 volt, it's available for that as well. And then from a configuration, the installation standpoint, typically integrates into the control circuit of the source, or can be used to also be connected to the main source of power source that if it's a load. So it can be connected either through the control circuit or the load. And then it also has the capability of controlling multiple different resource types from a single controller.
Can you also touch on the value proposition a little bit, maybe what you guys are discovering in the pilot installation in Minnesota?
Sure. So as a cooperative, their obvious need for there is the Twin split of peaks that they're managed in towards. But in addition to that, they are using it for congestion, localized congestion. They are seeing some areas where they're seeing local congestions due to increase in electric vehicle installs. So they are set up to be able to do dispatch whenever they see that transformer overload or loading condition that it needs to take place. And then the other thing that they're seeing is they're getting insights from customer in cases where they have customer appliances where they can actually see where a need for some sort of maintenance on those appliances. That was a discovery that they actually weren't intending to discover, but have discovered through the two-way data that they're getting, is that they can actually see insights and where they might either communicate to their customer a need for some sort of maintenance.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And that is time. I appreciate your presentation so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presenters in the grid management and distribution automation category is going to be Sentient Energy. We have Sentient Energy on the line. Sarah Prinster, I believe you are here. So I will hand it over to Sentient Energy.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our CEO, Bob Karshnia. Bob, are you on?
I am.
You want me to run the show?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start up the slides here?
Okay,
Perfect.
I will do it. Is it showing?
It is showing, yes.
Okay, well, there we go.
All right, I will time you for 5 minutes and starting now.
Sarah, can you go into presentation mode on that? Quick?
Yeah, I was just about to do that. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Itron and the panel here of judges for the opportunity to present our solution on grid management. Sentient Energy is a relatively new company in the industry, and we were formed several years ago with the idea of trying to understand the problems that grid operators are facing, whether it's renewables coming into the network, creating loads, or not loads, but sources coming in off the network that are difficult to manage, an aging infrastructure, the higher and higher requirements around safety and reliability, the fact that we see wildfire risk or other extreme weather events are creating a lot of havoc for the grid operators. And so in order to solve that problem, one of the most important things you need to do is see what's going on in the network. You need to have visibility out there, because if you can't see what's happening, you can't control it. So our objective at Sentient Energy is to help give what we refer to as contextual intelligence to the grid operators, so they can have a real-time view of what's happening in the network. Next slide, Sarah. Sentient Energy. Sarah, can you get to the next slide there?
Yeah, I'm trying. Sorry. My apologies. Okay.
Okay. Well, Sentient Energy, we're really, we like to think of ourselves as an outcome provider. We are really targeted at how we're helping the grid operators operate the grid that they are in charge of more successfully. And we do that by looking at, a couple of basic things. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, if you can't see the problem, you can't fix the problem. So we have a series of sensors, whether they're overhead or underground sensors, that give us visibility into what's happening along the grid. And then software and data analytics, and then the expertise to kind of tie all this together to deliver solutions that help our customers do things like vegetation management. I'll use that as an example. So it's getting the right information to the right people at the right time. Next slide. So I'll talk a little bit here, maybe a little bit more in depth about our analytics capabilities.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to start out with the analytics, if you looked at what's really happening on the lines, there's a lot of information that occurs or that shows up on the lines that if you can measure and look at before the fault occurs, can give you insights into it. Most systems today really look at when those faults occur, but because of the systems we have in place, the solution we have pulled together, we have the ability to see the disturbances before the actual fault occurs. And because of that, we're able to predict failures many days in advance of the actual fault. Examples of that would be, like I just mentioned, around vegetation. It could be a splice. It could be a distribution box failing. Many different opportunities. We have some examples of our customers seeing these faults as far as 1 week ahead of the actual indication or the fault occurring, which gives them ample time to actually go out and fix the problem before it occurs. Now, an example of a customer we've been working with is Florida Power and Light. And their first deployments were to help reduce SAIDI by looking at faults that occur on the line. And we've been able to help them dramatically improve their SAIDI score, but also reduce about $15 million a year in OpEx because of reduced outages. We do this with a series of sensors that we've deployed across the Florida Power and Light network. And all of that information is communicated back through the Itron communications network. It's how all the data flows from these, what is essentially 25,000 sensors and growing, back into the systems that allow Florida Power and Light to look at where faults are occurring on their network. However, with new capabilities around analytics infrastructure that we've been putting in place as well, Florida Power and Light is an example of a company that was able to find an underground fault from a box that was failing before the customer outage actually occurred. Next slide. Okay, and with that, I'm going to just wrap it up by saying that our objective is to make sure that we help the grid operators get ready for the future. And by working with partners like Itron, we can see how these forward-leaning operators can optimize the customer experience through higher uptime and reliability. And really our objective as an organization is to ensure that they can make good decisions by having all the information that they need to help transform their grids. That was all we had.
Thank you so much, Bob. You can hold your screen there, Sarah. We're going to put 2 minutes on the time for judges Q&A, starting now.
Thank you. Bob, I was wondering, how does your software technology integrate other operational data, such as AMI data, SCADA, whatever operational data is already available in a utility?
Sure. So there's maybe two answers to that question. The first one is we integrate the data output from our software into systems that already exist, like an ADMS system. One of the things we help customers find is distance to fault a lot faster because we have real-time data. So we like to think that we make ADMS systems better by using our solutions. In terms of taking data into our system, ingesting that in, like ticket data, fault ticket data as an example into our system so that we can perform the analytics to determine or help provide insight into where faults are occurring. We have a way to manually ingest that fault ticket data into our system.
Thank you.
About a minute left if we have time for an additional question.
Yes, Bob, thank you. Is there, what's the main difference between your low amp line monitor and your primary overhead line monitor? So will the primary go down to 3 amps with the, still doing radio communications?
So the MM3, which is the overhead monitoring, our primary solution, that will go down to about 5 amps to measure, still measure the current. So it's no batteries involved that. The low amp one will actually go to 0 amps because it's battery operated. So you can use that on either low load feeders or off on laterals. And depending on which use case you're trying to do, which could be looking at the low end, or pardon me, your low load feeders, that ZM1 would work there. Or if you're looking at laterals, like maybe looking to see if your reclosers are working, that would be another use case for that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And that is time. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your screen.
Thanks.
That was our last presentation in grid management and distribution automation. The next category is smart cities. And the first presenter in smart cities is going to be Cleverciti. Joe, do we have you on the line?
Yes, you do. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. If you want to share your screen, we are all ready for you.
Let's get that started. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can. Perfect. And I will start 5 minutes starting now.
Thank you. Is it the full screen that you see?
I do see the notes of the next slide.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
I'll pause it.
Thank you.
No problem.
You still seeing the, let's see if I can.
Yeah, also seeing the preview of the next slide.
Let's see here. There we go. Sorry about that, everyone.
Great.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Are you good? Are you good now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. I'll get started. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, judges. Thanks, Itron, for the time. I'll get started. Our founders started the company 10 years ago in order to address congestion globally in our major metropolitan cities. Over these last 10 years, we've developed a solution, a product, a platform to address vehicle miles driven, vehicles minutes driven, which has a huge impact on the emissions. At the same time, we've developed features and functionality in a platform to allow the cities to really manage those parking assets in a way that like a hotel manages their hotel rooms. And we've done that through the use of sensors and signage and other technology that live on the light post. The sensors, as you see in this image, are on the street lights. They're managing the spaces, both utilization and spaces available. We have a dynamic sign that's a Circ 360 that wraps around that lamp post that provides guidance where it's needed when critical decision points are being made at corners, et cetera. Once installed on the streetlights, we can come close to achieving 100% adoption of the parking guidance system. And this brings lots of value to the utilities in the city and the inhabitants. It provides a frictionless parking experience for both residents and visitors. It significantly reduces the search traffic, which was our original goal. It increases utilization of those parking spaces, of those assets. And not only the ones in front of you, but the ones around the corner that nobody sees that are underutilized. It improves compliance and payment adoption rates. It automates the enforcement process. We can improve the turnover of those spaces, and the turnover of those spaces adds foot traffic into restaurants, retail, which increases revenues, which increase the tax base as well. All that data is available in a cloud-based application for the city to see real-time what's going on in their parking environment, and also to look at the historical data and understand how they can manage rates, et cetera, much like a hotel manages their hotel rooms. The icing on the cake is that we're reducing congestion, we're reducing pollution, and we're improving the quality of life for everyone in the community. You'll see here a real-life application in Cologne, Germany. We'll talk about this in a little more detail later, but I've circled the sensors on these lampposts. As you can see, they blend right into the streetscape. They're hard to find, that's why I had to circle them. They're managing these spaces on the street, not only the utilization, but also the spaces available. All of that data goes to the cloud-based application. The spaces available is then disseminated to a number of different platforms, including our Circ 360, which is images you see here with the sign wrapped around the light post. The one in the top left corner is a great example. If I'm driving down the street, it's in my field of view. I'm not distracted looking at a dash. I'm not distracted looking at an app. I'm looking straight ahead. I know in this scenario, top left-hand corner, that at the next corner, if I turn left, I have 2 spaces. If I go straight, I have 1 space. If I turn right, I can find 8 spaces. This works really well in surface lots. Also, bottom left-hand corner gives you a quick example of that. We also share with a number of different apps. If they don't have a city or a customer doesn't have an app, we have a white labeled app like we did for El Monte. Bottom line is we're giving people guidance from where they currently are to the closest available space to their destination. If you're an EV driver and you need a charger, we can guide you to that open available charger closest to your space. We also help promote the payment platform of the city's choice, which increases payment adoption as well and makes it easy for the drivers. For those individuals that forget to pay or overstay, because we're combining the payment data with the utilization data, we can send alerts to the city's enforcement platform and guide those enforcement officers to the area in the city that needs the most attention, improving efficiency, etc. All that data is in the cloud, as I mentioned. From here, the city can manage, the utility can manage the live data. They see what's going on real time, all the time, the historical data. So now they can do analytics, visualizations, et cetera, et cetera. They manage all the devices, the IoT, edge computing devices like the sensor and the Circ, et cetera. And the data is also available to our partners like Itron to be visualized in SLV. We have a couple of, yeah.
You have 30 seconds, sorry.
Okay, 2 examples. This is an enterprise system in Redwood City, 4,500 spaces, includes surface lots, on-street parking, 11 garages, integrated with the payment app platforms, and we are going live with that right now. The city of Cologne, Germany installed. This is the results they've seen, a reduction in search traffic by 45%, reducing the search traffic in half. Those underutilized spaces were now being utilized 66% more. They're looking at a less than 2 year return on investment. And we did this with our partner, Rhine Energy in Cologne. And did I make it?
Yes, you did. Perfect timing. Great job, Joe. All right, you may leave that holding screen up and we'll do 2 minutes for Q&A from the judges, starting now.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for the presentation. I have a question based off ownership of the streetlights. So you have utilities, municipalities, maybe parks, and then blowing up some of the information to local authorities for ticketing. How do you manage the different ownership across the board if you were to deploy these sensors and functions?
Yeah, it's a collaboration in Redwoods, in Cologne. Obviously, the Rhine Energy is the provider of the street, the owner of the street lamps, and they were involved. Redwood City collaborated with the utility to utilize the lamp posts. Since the contract is with the city, then they have the enforcement officers and the enforcement platform, and they've selected the payment platforms. And so we came in and with our open ecosystem, we were able to integrate with all of those. Did that answer your question?
Right, so they would be cost sharing across the partnerships for the platform?
Say that one more time.
Based off the benefit, would they be cost sharing for the platform, the partners that are involved?
So the city bought the platform, implemented the platform. They actually worked with all the different shareholders to bring that together, including, just as a side note, some of the private garages that were involved in Redwood City came on board because they wanted to be part of this wayfinding solution.
Thank you.
And that's actually time on Judges Q&A. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Cleverciti in the Smart Cities category. The next Smart Cities category presenter is Flashnet. Flashnet, are you on?
Yes, I am here.
Hi. Will you mind please presenting your screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you see it now?
Beautiful. I'll let you get into presentation mode.
Okay, so hopefully you can see it in the well. Hi everyone, my name is Orșa Saloshkish. I am representing Flashnet, an energy company based in Brașov, Romania. Thank you for inviting us here. Today I would like to tell you about IntelliLight, a city-centric smart street lighting solution. In order to do that, I would like to set up the context first and tell you a little bit about public lighting, because street lighting or public lighting is an infrastructure that was installed 50, 60 years ago, decades ago, and no major upgrade has been done on it ever since. Today, it consumes a lot of energy, which means not only high energy bills for the city, but also a big carbon footprint for the city. Maintenance is problematic and really costly. And if the street lighting service is not provided in the right way, it can be an issue for citizen safety as well. So cities really have to look at ways to make it more efficient. And changing from the old types of lamps like high pressure sodium to LEDs is a no-brainer really today. But people expect more. They want their cities to be smart and to do more for them. So when cities start to look into smart street lighting management solutions, they will find that there are quite a few solutions available on the market. However, some of them are companies that popped up just last month, and a company that only existed for a few months may not be mature enough to manage one of the most important assets. Many of them highly complex and proprietary mesh network solutions, and the truth is that most of them just don't provide real interoperability. And fear of investing in obsolete technology or becoming vendor-locked makes municipalities and utilities hesitant. With IntelliLight, we are trying to bring a solution to these questions by providing a really city-centric street lighting. First, let me tell you what is smart street lighting management. It means you will have a controller installed on each of the luminaires. You will be able to turn the lamps on and off based on sunset and sunrise time each day. And furthermore, you will be able to dim the lights during the night when traffic is low in the streets. So you can make sure to provide the right amount of light where and when it is needed. We are also measuring detailed electrical parameters. The information is gathered in the central management software. And from here, you can have access to it to monitor grid health and optimize the maintenance works. But how is it really city-centric? So what you have to know about us at Flashnet is that we are a little bit obsessed with technologies and with interoperability. This was at the core of our company right from the beginning. And this has led us to have today the most open solution available based on standards. We bring interoperability to every layer. From connectivity, we are integrated with communication technologies like LoRaWAN, narrowband IoT, LTE Cat M1 or Sigfox. We are part of the most important industry alliances standardizing protocols for this field, like Tokyo and UCFI, and we are bringing this down to the driver layer, which is a communication protocol between controllers and luminaires. We are taking this even further, from the software to the hardware level. We have today an installation option for every imaginable or unimaginable streetlight that can be installed anywhere in the world, be that a new luminaire or a retrofit installation. I haven't told you the best part yet. All of this hardware versatility and communication technology range can be available in the Itron central management software in a one-stop shop through our Flashnet IoT connectivity platform. This means Itron can provide a smart street lighting management solution to any city anywhere in the world, complementing their existing smart city portfolio. A city that will go with IntelliLight means they will reduce their carbon footprint, they will be more energy efficient. They will have an overview of the grid health, they can have granular information down to the minutes, and they can organize better their preventive maintenance works. And last but not least, they will have an important demand response tool at hand. We are Flashnet, a company of 50 passionate employees coming from the fields of IT, energy, and telecom. We are putting together our expertise to provide smarter and more efficient solutions to the cities of tomorrow. More than 60 million people have already witnessed the benefits of IntelliLights. Cities like Santiago de Chile, Brussels, or Dubai have given us their vote of confidence, and we are using today our solution to manage one of their most important assets. We are present in more than 60 countries, 150 cities across 6 continents, and we are just waiting for that one streetlight to pop up in Antarctica so we can make it truly worldwide on all continents. This is my presentation. If you would like to find out what you can do for your city, get in touch and let's talk.
Thank you so much. 2 minutes for questions from the judges, starting now.
I was wondering, who's your audience? So you say cities. Do you sell only to cities, or who's in your market?
Our main customers are the cities, public authorities, but we're also working with highways, campuses, ports. It's a really a range. But the final customers and the final beneficiaries are cities and the citizens.
Oh, but you can also provide services to a small system like a campus and still provide the functionalities and of your technology.
Yes, exactly. And we have managed to have projects in really a range of locations and sizes. We have ports, university campuses in Europe, highways, like I mentioned, in Greece, and we have projects in deserts, up in the mountains. So we really feel like we can fit the needs of any city.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
We have time for an additional question. If there are no further questions at this time, then that will complete the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next presenter in smart cities is going to be the company tomorrow.io. Smart cities, tomorrow.io, do we have you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Alec. How are you?
Good, thanks.
All right. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the timer, and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Great. So first of all, thank you to the judges and all the participants, everyone who came together here today to make this a great event. Really excited about some of the stuff we've seen here. So tomorrow.io is building the world's largest weather company and air quality company, and really focused on helping to solve the challenges that businesses and governments face within weather. So weather is a growing risk globally. We're seeing the effects of it every day when businesses and governments respond reactively to weather events. People get hurt, people lose lots of money, and people can even lose their jobs, like the CEO of the energy grid in Texas did this most recent winter when they had an unexpected cold front that lasted several weeks. The whole state, or not the whole state, a large portion of the state lost power. People were grounded at home because of COVID-19 lockdown, and it was very dangerous. So more and more what we're seeing is weather is almost like cybersecurity. It's something that businesses and governments are finding ways to be proactive about mitigating the weather risks and being prepared in advance. So tomorrow.io has raised several $100 million. We're launching our own satellite network. We're working with some of the largest businesses and governments in the world to address environmental, social governance, safety, energy consumption, and operational challenges that they regularly encounter, and a way to be prepared for them and not be responsive and reactive. So the platform that we have is deliverable through an easy to use, embeddable SaaS platform, as well as API tools that can back end into any Itron software solution. It's backed by deep science and proprietary weather modeling, which I'll dig into, and we provide coverage globally. So if we, couple this with existing solutions and need to roll them out in any continent, we can do that. We have offices in India and Singapore and Europe, and several in the US as well. Our weather data is currently available in the SLV smart lighting application from Itron, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. But first, I want to just kind of get under the hood and explain to you what we mean by better weather, right? And so proprietary weather models can do a number of things to increase a weather forecast, real-time or historical data. And that can come in the form of increased coverage, meaning providing a forecast or data in a place where there currently isn't one. It can be in resolution, right? Bringing something down to maybe a 500-meter grid versus a 5-mile grid. And then the frequencies and refresh and update times of that forecast. So we do this by being the first weather company in history to actually collect data. The way a weather forecast is built is you collect data, you build a model, and then you run high performance computers to produce the forecast out of that data inside the model. What every other company is doing is basically repackaging government data. And we do that as well. We use government global models, government regional models, but we also collect our own data. We write our own models, and we combine everything from sensor data to our proprietary satellite data, public data, IoT data, all into what we call one forecast that outputs what we believe to be the best forecast, as good or better anywhere on Earth. So not only that, but we don't necessarily deliver simple weather parameters. We deliver business intelligence. So instead of informing you that there's a poor air quality forecast, we can send a communication to a relevant employee. We can trigger a transaction or a webhook within an Itron software solution that produces action, right? So initiate the dehumidifiers at 2 p.m., set HVAC to recirculate the air, activate backup power sources, cancel crane operations because of high wind. Maybe there's a high demand for energy forecasted on Sunday, and you want your customers to respond, or you want to engage your customers in some way. This is weather intelligence. It's the ability to automate communications and trigger software to drastically reduce power consumption in energy, smart cities, supply chain, while also improving operational efficiency and mitigating safety risks and hazards and liabilities. So an example of this is how Amazon Web Services is a customer of ours, and they use our data in their data center management system to control the HVAC to mitigate energy consumption. So there's a fine point where they can have their servers optimized and performing optimally while also not using excessive energy. So that comes down to what is the humidity, what is the temperature, what is the air quality, should we recirculate air, and our system can do that automatically. Some of the questions we've gotten in the past are, well, how do you know what the right conditions are? And there's two ways to get there. We have a library for all of these industries you see on the left of recommended insights, right? And so if we dig into municipalities and smart cities, we have a very large library of insights that we can recommend you make to plan for snow removal or to plan for vegetation management or something else that are based on thresholds we've seen. We can also adjust these and tailor these to the thresholds that are most applicable to any specific location. Someone in Texas versus someone in Seattle may have a different threshold for humidity or temperature, for example. And within Itron, this product, as I mentioned, is currently available through SLV. It's being piloted in San Antonio, and it often serves as an alternative to instrumentation or any kind of a physical sensor, which can be expensive, requires calibration, maintenance, there's low margins on them. And so what we're able to do is really create this concept of a virtual sensor where you can monitor weather on a very granular and local level, while instantly deploying a virtual sensor that doesn't require maintenance and calibration. So this is how we're used in SLV. It's a real-time virtual sensor. And other questions and feedbacks I've gotten are how is it priced and what is the business model behind it? But we can be very flexible with this. So for example, SLV, yep.
So sorry, I'm gonna have to stop you there and
Sure.
wrap it up in 5 seconds if you can.
Sure. We're priced based on whatever your product is priced on. So it can be number of streetlights or any other model. So that's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. We'll open it up for a couple of minutes for the judges.
I have a question. How important do you think the new sensors are compared to standard radar and other ways to predict the weather?
So radar is the best way to produce a forecast, but radars only cover about 20% of the populated world. So we collect all of the radar data, but there are gaps that need to be filled in between. So all radar data goes into our model. Most radars are sitting at an airport, and we're also launching our own satellite network, which will be the first radars that aren't on the ground. So we're going to have a constellation of about 50 satellites that orbit the planet and can provide a refresh time of about 30 minutes to give us global radar coverage. So not challenging the fact that radars are the best way to produce a forecast, particularly for precipitation. We embrace that. We've recently acquired a radar company as the payload for our satellite operations.
So getting better weather data is always a good thing, but what's even more impressive is if you can integrate that within how it affects the utilities network. Have you guys done anything, or is there templates available for that problem where you're overlaying the impact on a distribution system for future outages?
Yeah, exactly. At our core, we're a machine learning company. So we build models. Over half of our employees, about 200 employees, are data scientists of some kind, atmospheric or machine learning or otherwise. And so if we don't like the insights that we have around maybe there's going to be a power outage or so forth, we can always analyze historical data, cross-reference it with utility data to come up with a unique model specifically for that customer that can tell us potentially, here's the load forecast that we expect, or here's the power generation from a distributed network of renewables, or here is the risk of an outage coming up, which can then integrate into their platform through an Itron solution that can inform them that maybe there's a high load coming, and it can be as simple as that. Or if they want to take action beyond it, maybe you need to power up backup generators or change the price of energy or something else. So everything is designed to be embedded and integrated, but we can produce our own models, especially if the customer gives us historical data on, for example, outages, to produce a unique outage forecast for a specific utility.
And that is time. Thank you so much, Alec, and we appreciate it. That is tomorrow.io, and that is the last presentation in smart cities. The next category of presenters will be distributed intelligence, and we have Bidgely. Bidgely, you are ready to share your screen. We are ready for your presentation.
Thank you. This is Maria Kretzing. I'm pulling up my screen. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity. I'm going to share with you today our distributed intelligence solution to accompany the Itron Riva meter. First, a little bit about who Bidgely is. We're an AI-powered SaaS company based in Silicon Valley, and our mission is to unlock the power of data for modern energy providers and customers. And we've been growing at a very fast pace, especially over the past 2 years. Now we're up to about 35 logos, I believe. And our team is incredibly strong. We have over 17 patents and a team of 20 plus data scientists with 140 total employees. Our strength comes from our employees' experience, which stems from Oracle OPower, Tendril First Fuel, Microsystems, Microsoft and Google, and FireEye. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about why we've embraced distributed intelligence. Previously, or I should really say the status quo today for us is to ingest at best 15-minute AMI data from utilities. And what this generally looks like is we ingest this about the day after or 36 hours after these reads have actually occurred. And we can do actionable insights, but it's not real time. So essentially what we message to customers is, you did this is what your usage looks like. In the future, you should do this. And additionally, we feed back to the utility information that shows them historical trends, sometimes forecasting, but again, based on day-old data. Distributed intelligence, because we can actually put this functionality on the meter, will allow for real-time applications and actually more granular applications, because no utility is going to ingest second data or sub-second data. But because we can actually go ahead and just run the application on the meter and then only send relevant information to the utility, this is a far more appetizing way of performing analytics. That means that we can inform customers of information exactly when it's relevant, so in real time. And then we can inform grid operations and forecasting in near real time, so they can make adjustments in accordance with this data. And why Bidgely? We have a history of working with 1 second data in order to disaggregate. We actually were one of the first to work with Google and the Microsoft OHM to get over 30,000 worth of second data from homes from the very beginning. In 2014, around then, we started to work, rather than with HON, with AMI disaggregation in order to go to market with that solution. And with that, we've have over 24 million homes that we ingest and disaggregate, over 30 plus utilities. But now it's just really interesting that we have the chance again to go back to the second level or sub-second level for disaggregation. So I'm going to show you essentially what this framework would look like in practice. So we have our residents and the Itron meter with the Bidgely distributed intelligence app on it. We start by partially disaggregating the data. This is done in the very beginning when we are not familiar with this residence. This partially disaggregated data is compressed. So under, I believe 1 megabyte, let's say, passed back to the cloud, where Bidgely fully disaggregates this data. Over the course of 7 days, Bidgely will use this data to complete a specific home model. So it'll be unique. Essentially what it does is we'll pass back the likelihood of this specific residence of having each of the appliances we disaggregate and the frequency that's likely, so that the home specific model can then in real time actually, begin to see the trends and begin to produce real-time analytics. Should the customer choose to participate in a home area network, they can then choose to do that and be informed in real time. Note, this isn't necessary. We can fully rely on the field area network instead. And essentially, it's just dependent on how often the utility would choose to transfer data with the field area network. Whereas if the customer did choose to use their Wi-Fi, it would truly be real time. So what does this enable? First, it enables your real-time alerting for customers. So here's an example of a customer who has an application from Utilco. They're charging EV on peak. We immediately note, you are charging currently. You're in peak hours. Please shift this behavior. Or your pool pump is running and you can alter this behavior to save money or to reduce your carbon footprint. Next, with ever-growing DERs, this can enable real-time DER management, DERMS, and grid optimization. Because we can identify DERMS in real time and provide this disaggregation information, it's not only useful to the customers, but actually to a DERMS or ADMS system. And so finally, what are the benefits? We're a partner to build a foundational platform. We offer disaggregation as well as data transport within the application. We offer cloud disaggregation and customer-facing insights and communications. And then finally, we can help the utility on the back end support their strategic priorities, such as grid optimization and decarbonization. So with that, I will end. Thank you again. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you so much, Maria. 2 minutes for questions, judges.
Yeah, the question around the solution and its tested deployments to residential versus commercial and different kinds of commercial, and if if that is light on the commercial side, what your roadmap is.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the disaggregation itself, we have the most categories in disaggregation for residential applications. However, we do have some categories for small, medium business or commercial. With small and medium business, that is on our roadmap currently, in addition to the 4 categories we already have. Commercial is an interesting one. While it's on our roadmap to some extent, because of the variable nature, disaggregation just becomes more challenging. So, more to come, but I would say that's an 18-month roadmap item.
About 20 seconds left. If there's another question, very quick.
Yeah, could you talk briefly about once these systems are deployed and the algorithms are on the meter, what is the update process if you get a new idea or a new model to put those on the meter?
Yeah, so that's very akin to the home specific model. We would continue to do really check-ins because also the customer may acquire a new or deviating device. And then that would simply go through the field area network. Obviously, again, more ideally, if we had a home area network, that's a quicker path, but everything would be at a small enough size that it would just need to be scheduled in the transfer, but we don't expect it to cause any abnormal traffic on the network. And so with the utility would facilitate that transfer back and forth.
Perfect, and that is time. Thank you so much, Maria.
Great, thank you, everyone.
And that was Bidgely and distributed intelligence category. We are still in the distributed intelligence category, and the next presenter is going to be Net to Grid. Net to Grid, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Perfect, and you are sharing your screen. All right, we will give you 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Excellent, I'm ready now. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you for Itron for this opportunity. So we are Net to Grid, and my name is Bert Lutje-Berenbroek. I'm going to present to you the Itron Riva edge detection model, operational on the Itron meters, detecting EVs in real time. At Net to Grid, we actually transform meter data into value. And we have been focusing for the last 10 years on real-time data from meters. We have models translating the real-time power curves into appliance events with more than 90% accuracy. The functionality works on smart meter data as well. So on the 15 to 60 minute load curves. There we translate the data into categories, but we can analyze and generate value by not only giving advice to consumers, but we can actually analyze the assets for utilities. We can generate the solar production data for meters just out of smart meter data by our analytics tools. The next phase from the real-time disaggregation based on the OpenWay meters is the DI application that actually runs on the Itron meters. There's no hardware required anymore, and it runs in real time. We are operational for the last 5 years with customers, multinational customers like Eaton, EDP, EDF, and ENI, all running the real-time disaggregation in production, in volume. The edge application consists of a couple of features. So we actually have implemented this and running this on the Riva meter. The application has been certified in the Itron labs on the Riva meter and can be tested in the field. It is detecting EVs, and it is detecting different charging modes of EVs in real time. The events are, the alerts are sent not via the home Wi-Fi network, so there's no interdependency of the internet, but it is the alerts are sent via the Itron network. We don't suffer from interference with solar. So the EV detection also works with homes that have actually solar feed in before the meter. And there's no configuration required. So these models are trained, they're pre-trained, they work immediately, and they don't require any configuration by the user. Now, how does it work? We basically analyze the power curve of smart meters, and we have AI models that are trained in the back office on more than 50,000 individual appliance events that we detected over the last years. We have a ground truth data set, not only on 1 Hertz data, but also on 2 kilohertz data. That data set is allowing us to provide this feature also when the Riva meters provide us with sub-second data. The new SDK will provide us with 100 Hertz data. And we have models available for EV detection, for washing machine detection, for heat pump detection, air conditioning detection that are pre-configured and work with a 98% accuracy. Those models are running already on hardware, on meter hardware that is available commercially and can be tested by customers. These models don't require any manual input. They're meter and country agnostic, and they have an accuracy. So the 100 Hertz model have an accuracy of more than 98%, and the 1 Hertz models have an accuracy of 90%. They are hybrids. They work both in the cloud. If you have not a Riva meter, but a OpenWay meter, we have gateways interfacing to the hand port that bridge the data to the cloud. Then those models work hybrid in the cloud and on the hardware. In the case of the Riva meter, they can operate standalone as a distributed intelligence application. So we have 3 phases of e-program business value creation. The first phase is you need to engage with your customer. You need to get the mandate and the opt-in of your customer to actually use this application on the edge. So we analyze the smart meter data collected by the Itron meters, so the 15 to 60 minute load curves. And we can cluster the customers with EVs. You can provide direct marketing to those customers and create an incentive for them to install the DI application and start using it. Then the second phase is behavioral demand response. So we can nudge customers to change their charging behavior based on the time of use rates. And we can integrate with charging stations. We have 3 levels of integrations. Integrations on the LAN, which is not dependent on the internet, and which gives us full flexible control over the different phases and the charging current of each phase.
Bert, sorry to stop you. You have 10 seconds.
Okay, that's I got 3 use cases. One is the engagement with the customer to change the charging behavior. The second one is solar optimization. We can optimize the solar self-consumption. And the third one is the time of use rates. So we can actually help customers to optimize their time of use, and we can help utilities to distribute the charging behavior of customers in the network. So that's the end of my presentation. If you are interested, we have a demo. You can scan the QR code and actually apply for the live demonstration on your own mobile app.
Thank you so much. We have about a minute for judges' questions.
Hey, Bert. So with the engagement options that you offer utilities, it all starts with understanding who's charging EVs and when they're charging and how. Can you clarify that your agent that runs on the Riva meter, it detects both level 1 and level 2 residential charging? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We have 3 levels of charging. We have the hybrid EVs that mostly charge at 2 kilowatt. They're they can be charged by a standard plug. Then we have the single phase chargers. They charge at a medium speed, and we have the high speed chargers. And we detect all 3 charging states.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And those three were actually also tested in the Itron labs.
Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Have a great day. The next presentation, which will be the final presentation in the distributed intelligence category, is going to be Powerley. Powerley, are you on?
I am here.
Perfect. We'll have you start sharing your screen. Perfect.
Also,
very clearly. Great. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. So my name is Paul Wesner. I head up product and customer success for Powerley, and I'm pleased to talk to you today about how Powerley is driving impact with Itron's distributed intelligence platform. First, just a little bit of background on Powerley, in case you're not familiar. Powerley launched in 2015 with a mission to empower everyone with the opportunity to contribute and collectively facilitate the transition to a cleaner planet. And we went about doing that by developing a home energy management platform that provides a real-time window into energy usage for the home itself and every connected and appliance and device within it. And there's an important word there that really differentiates Powerley, and that's the term real time. And everything that Powerley has developed and built has really been focused on that real-time experience, ensuring that we're getting access to data at the moment in time it's being used and able to leverage that information to coach and understand and provide insights back to customers. How do we get access to that real-time data? Well, today, Powerley has an energy bridge, an in-home gateway device called the Energy Bridge. It communicates over the home area network that the AMI meters deployed in the field puts out to gain access to that real-time 3-second instantaneous demand data. You know, there's been references to this solution not necessarily gaining traction in the scene, but we've seen very different experience. We've deployed over 70,000 units in the field across more than 20 states and provinces in North America. And we're able to leverage that data to really strongly engage our customers. That includes more than 14 sessions per month, achieving bind success of contributing or connecting the energy bridge to the meter at over 98%, and delivering energy savings, demand savings in the neighborhood of $150 to $200 for each customer. All that collectively put together has achieved over 70 gigawatt hours and 75,000 tons of CO2e reduction since 2015, just at DT alone. And so all this has come together to provide a really impactful customer experience. But most importantly, we have this large volume of data. And so Powerley has the largest volume of real-time AMI energy reads in the world, up over almost 1.6 trillion. And of course, that's whole home data reads, but it's not just those whole home data reads. It's also disaggregated devices and appliances within the home, whether that be water heaters or refrigerators or electric vehicles or what have you. And all that data has, and you know, then there's also the heating and cooling elements. All that data, we have over 10 billion individual device event reads and over 10 million disaggregated HVAC cycles. And so all that data collectively is able to put together to drive a tremendous amount of insights and allow us to develop patents and very unique intellectual property that helps us identify appliance signatures and communicate to customers about that. And it's very different working with this real-time data than this MDM data, and I'll show you why. You can see here on this graph the 3-second data reads. If you had those same homes just getting the traditional hourly interval data reads, it would show up right there on the graph, and it's actually there, but it's so small it's not even visible. So that's the difference you're talking about in this data volume. And so I'll give you an example right here of a typical MDM data house and how that compares with our unique data set. And so this is data from the exact same home for the exact same period of time. And in the typical MDM data, you'd see there looks to be a traditional one single spike in usage right around this peak right here, possibly in AC, maybe it's something else running. With our real-time data and our disaggregation algorithms that are patented technologies, we're able to identify that there was not just one, but actually 2 separate AC cycles within the home, but it got caught across 2 different interval cycles. And so we're able to spike or identify exactly when that cycle was and how much the AC unit was running at that point in time. And that data this entire capability can now be present and live within the Itron distributed intelligence platform and on these Riva meters, because all of this functionality, all of this developed intellectual property is able to be deployed on Itron Riva meters without the need for the additional hardware that the traditional AMI over Zigbee communication happens to get, providing a real true turnkey solution to home energy management. And so what can you do with this data? Obviously, the possibilities are certainly endless. On the customer side, we're clearly seeing a ramp up of advanced rates, right? And with real-time energy, we can not only detect those large load appliances, but also the moment in time they're running. So we can provide customers information about how to change their behavior to optimize when they're using so they can save based on shifting time. Or we can notify customers about large load appliances that are running that are about to set a new demand threshold and getting them to make the change before they hit it. On the utility side, imagine behavioral DR, but now do it for every single customer because you're running this intelligence on every single meter deployed in the territory and able to communicate to that customer. Or you can just identify that these customers are good targets for more traditional behavior or traditional demand response programs, whether that's doing things like electric vehicles or electric water heaters. And so collectively, we're able to drive this impact at scale. We're able to do so very accurately and securely by creating this technology, developing this strong intellectual property and artificial intelligence capabilities for a number of years, embedding it on those meters so that we can provide this information securely and accurately, and then eventually expanding into new intelligent home services that can provide additional value both to customers as well as the utilities. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll take any questions you have.
Perfect. Opening it up for judges Q&A. If there are no questions from the judges, we'll give it 10 more seconds, but if there are no questions from the judges, we will move on to the next presenter. Okay, thank you so much, Paul, for your presentation today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was the final presentation in the distributed intelligence category. That was Powerley. The next category is utility IoT. It will be a pre-recorded presentation by Dynamic Ratings. Chris Holt, will you play that presentation?
Hi, my name is Seamus Allen. I'm coming to you from Dynamic Ratings in Melbourne, Australia, soon to be the most locked down city in the world for COVID-19. So I'm recording this from my home. Thanks for watching this. Today I'm going to talk about distributed monitoring in our Itron enabled platform to get data back to make monitoring easy and painless for utility customers. Dynamic Ratings is a company that produces monitoring systems and solutions for electrical utility customers. Our niche market historically has been in the substation space, where we've provided the full network of support from sensors through to field service through to industry partnerships to make utility monitoring successful for our customers. More recently, our utility customers have been asking us, can we provide support in the medium and low voltage network to help them with the different challenges people are seeing around the world. And we know what those challenges are: the massive transition in energy from traditional energy sources through the new distributed energy resources, electrification of the transport sector, trying to drive the electricity network harder and enable all of these technologies without spending much more money on the actual network infrastructure, the poles and wires itself, which is extremely challenging. And we know that data can help solve this problem. But what are the challenges associated with trying to get that data? Well, of course, when we're talking the distribution network, whether it be an urban network or the sprawling rural networks, it's very difficult to get that data back. There are no fiber connections, and realistically, we require a wireless platform to be able to get that data back from the network. So Dynamic Ratings has worked with our industry partners and our own internal development groups to be able to put together an entire platform and an ecosystem of sensors and monitors and devices, software solutions, and integration to be able to collect data from around the network, bring it back to a centralized location utilizing wireless backhaul. And one of those wireless backhauls is the Itron mesh network, which has enabled us to leverage utilities' existing private wireless networks and gain great value from that network. And to bring that data back, do the analytics, and then share that data with other utility systems such as SCADA or ADMS systems, or utilize that data to actually be able to drive direct control of other assets within the network. What do these sensors look like? Well, they range from sensors that might sit around on transformers, from simple power quality meters, fault monitoring, harmonics, through to comprehensive distribution automation solutions that are controlling ring main units and monitoring all the different feeders that go away from a transformer, through to condition monitoring type sensors that are measuring gases or moisture or temperatures on transformers to try and make asset management decisions easier and more data-based. Through to around the sensors that go around the network, including up poles, at recloses, intelligent fault path indicators that can provide condition on the line, not only fault indication. Through the sensors that are now going behind the customer meter to be able to provide detailed diagnostic data from the customer's point of connection for controlling devices behind the customer meter, including air conditioning units or electric vehicle chargers, providing a gateway to get communication data to and from solar PV inverters, and really bring that data together in an ecosystem of sensors to be able to control and monitor the different aspects of the network. And really bringing the data back is just the beginning. Our system provides a flexible framework of data tools to be able to process that data in real time, make sure the data is available and visible to the right people, shared to the right people, and connected in with utility systems. Because that's what Dynamic Ratings does. We work with utility customers to produce utility-grade solutions that are above and beyond the rest. One example of where we've done this with a customer here is we've taken their voltage data available to us from their Itron smart meters, which are already installed in the network, leveraging that network voltage data combined with our own sensors, providing voltage and load data at the transformers throughout the network, and then calculating the hosting capacity for electric vehicle chargers within that network, and sending those commands down to electric vehicle chargers to be able to curtail charging or orchestrate charging based on network capacity. So essentially maximizing the value for our end residential customers without bringing the network to its knees and having under voltage excursions during high load events. Another example for condition monitoring is where we've deployed sensors that can really change how utilities are doing asset management of their transformers. This customer was doing regular manual oil level checks on their distribution transformers to try and catch some transformers that had some bad gaskets. And we changed this by providing a low-cost camera sensor that takes a daily photo of the oil sight glass, uses image classification to determine the oil level, and then produces reports and alerts that enable the utility to actually issue their field service teams to go and repair the transformers rather than just driving around looking at sight glasses. And this meant that the utility was reducing the risk to their workforce as well as optimizing the use of their resources to manage these particular assets. So again, this is another case where data has been able to be readily available to drive different changes within the organization. It's been really successful. We've got lots more examples and I'd love to be able to share some of them with you, but if you've got any questions, then don't hesitate to fire them off. And thanks very much for your time. Have a great day.
Perfect. Thank you. I believe there may be a U.S. colleague on the line for Seamus. Is there a U.S. colleague on the line for questions?
Hi, Sarah. This is Dan Roth.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great. So judges, I'm going to put up the time for 2 minutes if you have any questions for Dan.
And then can you just tell us a little bit what was the most challenging, thing you had to overcome to install all these sensors in the network?
I think typically is working through some of the internal stakeholders and the politics within the utility and getting buy-in from all the different entities. So engaging IT departments and making sure you're meeting all of the security requirements, and then working with the operations teams to sort out the physical installation, just navigating that, developing a plan typically takes more time than executing the plan. So I would say it's just important to get alignment across the utility is the most fundamental part of success.
Hey, Dan, as part of your differentiator of utility IoT versus generic IoT, do the devices you deploy, they do leverage the Itron mesh network, is that correct?
Yeah, they can be used on the Itron Riva network, and they also support the Milli integration, so they can be fully deployed on that Itron network.
Excellent, thank you.
They also support some other point-to-point mesh radio networks and cellular should you have gaps in your Itron network. So there's a couple different opportunities to leverage whatever is available. You saw in the presentation the abandoned power pole with an emu under it, which is probably unique to an Australian presentation, but those are the kind of areas that we sometimes have to overlap different technologies to get reach to.
Thank you so much, Dan, for being on to answer questions for Dynamic Ratings. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The next presentation in the category of utility IoT is New Cosmos USA. We have, I believe, Julie presenting, but Kyle, will you be sharing your screen? Beautiful, we can see it perfectly.
Perfect.
Perfect, we can hear you now. Okay, you can begin. Yes, we can begin now.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, judges, for this opportunity. We're really excited to present our pitch today. Next slide. Itron and New Cosmos USA share the same vision to protect people and property. The Itron Milli 5 integration to enable communications between our alarms and gas utilities has already been successful at identifying several potentially life-threatening gas leaks, plus many other benefits. With product viability, integrated with the Milli 5, we have proven successful and effective with a completed pilot program in 2019 with Con Edison, New York, resulting in a major large-scale contract for mass deployment with over 60,000 units installed already. We'll dive deeper into this a bit later, but we're certainly proud to have sold 70 million gas alarms worldwide and hold 70% market share in Japan. We will continue to innovate and supply some of the world's biggest utility companies with the latest technologies backed by our largest R&D and gas sensor manufacturing facility in the world. So utilities' top priorities are mitigating risk, eliminating incidents, and ensuring safe natural gas deployments. However, there are many challenges with gas explosions which occur every 2 days. We recognize these challenges and are pleased to deliver a product that prevents deaths and property damage. Aging infrastructure is certainly a major hazard and liability risk. It could take up to 230 years to be able to replace every aging pipe in the US. We offer a natural gas alarm solution with the Milli 5 communication module that can protect customers and minimize that liability now. General public awareness for natural gas leaks and explosions is so critical. These images show what dangers have happened and offer solutions that utility companies such as Con Ed have chosen to use to prevent this from ever happening again. Due to the integration with the Milli 5, we were incredibly pleased to share the Con Ed partnership and installation of our gas alarms resulted in identifying over 125 natural gas leaks, once again revealing that when put to the test, our products deliver by protecting people and property when it matters most. Our Itron New Cosmos partnership resulted in a 1-year pilot program with Con Edison, New York, as you are aware. In the test phase, though, of the 9,000 units deployed, there were 0 nuisance alarms reported. So using Itron Milli 5 smart meter network to connect with utilities, the communication success rate is 97%. Con Edison made history, in fact, in the industry by being the first ever to pioneer the InnovaTech AMI battery-powered alarm in the US. Currently, 60,000 alarms have been installed across New York as they roll out their AMI network. And by 2025, just under 400,000 units will be installed. Certainly, major benefits of this pilot program and partnership are providing smart gas alarms to residents free of charge. Also, due to our Itron partnership, we're able to report 125 emergency gas leaks requiring immediate attention from Con Ed. InnovaTech is the first ever battery-powered natural gas alarm with Milli 5 on the market that provides seamless communication to gas utilities via the Itron network. With this integration, we're to provide reliable communication and relevant data when it's needed and where it's needed. Our MEMS sensor technology significantly reduces nuisance alarms, saving valuable time and community resources. Future offerings include CO and natural gas, smoke CO and natural gas, and a full line of propane alarms. From a business innovations perspective, our alarms provide additional revenue opportunities for Itron's network and ancillary products like smart gas and electric meters. Our partnership has led to increases in brand awareness and community trust. Plus, Con Ed, in partnership with New Cosmos, won an Itron Innovation Award for our natural gas alarms that integrated with the Itron Milli 5. Certainly, with the NFPA 715 expected to pass soon, there is a growing need for more public education. We see the value in educating our communities and end users who may not know the dangers of natural gas explosions. We're very proactive in getting the word out. In fact, we have a live webinar coming up on NGA on October 13th. We also are working proactively with utilities to become more transparent about leak management efforts. In closing, our purpose is to protect people and property with innovative natural gas safety products. Our 60-year history as an innovator in the natural gas industry makes us a valued partner for generating new technology innovations, such as our proprietary MEMS sensor technology with 600 times more energy power savings, offering early and accurate gas detection, which virtually eliminates nuisance alarms, and most importantly, protects people and property. We are so grateful for your time and appreciate the opportunity to present today. On behalf of New Cosmos, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julie. We're going to open it up 2 minutes for Q&A from the judges.
You mentioned that you had 70% market share. How does the product compare to, obviously pretty well, but how does it compare to some of the other solutions? What's the secret sauce that you guys have?
That's an excellent question. This is Ron Lazarus, and the technology that we've developed will actually detect the signature of methane gas better than the most other types of methane sensors. So that has helped us to eliminate nuisance alarms.
Hi, Julie and Ron. With the combined passage of NFPA 715 and the success that you've been able to demonstrate at Con Ed, do you feel like more utility regulators are open to the idea of utilities deploying methane for combo and gas utilities, that they're more open to approving utility programs for deploying methane detection in their service territory, leveraging their network? Do you feel like there's a regulatory barrier, or that's being overcome?
No, we believe that there is still a regulatory barrier, and we don't believe that a lot of the utilities have really pushed the regulatory agencies as much as maybe they could be, in assisting in this effort as well.
Okay, thank you.
And that's time today for the Q&A and the presentation. Thank you so much. The last presenter in Utility IoT category will be Utility Systems Science and Software Incorporated. I believe, Mark, do we have you on the line?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. You may present your screen.
I think I'm sharing.
We still only see you. Perfect. Now we can see your screen.
Very good. Good morning. My name is Mark Saris, and I'm with Utility Systems Science and Software. Let's see. A little bit about us. The CEO and myself we come from the world of power generation, primarily on nuclear, and also with power distribution systems, throughout the United States. The engineering manager for Utility Systems Science and Software, US Cube, comes from General Motors. And our line of business primarily with US Cube is in the water and wastewater market. One of our goal as part of the development program within Itron, we developed what's called an AMI RTU. we wanted to develop a device which would essentially replace a programmable logic controller, which is in virtually every single utility throughout the United States. In fact, North America, all over the world, everybody operates their utility off of a PLC. This allows us to connect to any utility sensor that's currently being used today. We also solve the problem of running AC power to the device to significantly reduce running applications for utility. The other part of it, of course, is that we interfaced with SLV, which is the Itron platform, and also with almost every known SCADA system, supervisor control and data acquisition system, certainly in North America and actually throughout the world, there we go. So I thought I'd go through a typical application. This is a flooding application for for a city, where what we can do is our sensors would identify, say, that we have a flood on a particular highway, and we can interface our data with other developers within Itron to send out an alert, to billboards, telling people that we have a problem, in the city. And including with that, then what we can do is we can control the pumping systems that are underground so that we can reduce or eliminate that kind of problem in the future. So how does that work? Well, a typical RTU, this would be something very typical. You find these absolutely everywhere. Includes a PLC, which you see towards the center. You got to have AC power supply, you got a CPU, digital inputs, digital outputs, radio, everything. And so what we've done is we have combined all of those elements into the what we call the AMI RTU, which is being used by Itron. We have our analog inputs, would bring in basically any analog device, 4 to 20 milliamps, 0 to 5 volts, RS-232, 485, SDI 12, the works. On the digital output, which you'll notice on the left, on the upper left-hand corner of the device, these are Form C relays. This is not TTL, which is transistor logic, but I can actually control pumps. I can control virtually any device that utility would have. So I'm effectively replacing the PLC, programmable logic controller, in the market for these types of applications. Using the AMI RTU, we're doing flood monitoring, we're doing storm, sanitary sewer overflow, water quality, water pressure throughout the entire city, emergency fuel systems, gas monitoring, etc. All which would normally historically be done using a PLC. How does it work? It basically sits right on, well, we can sit on virtually any of the Itron networks, specifically Gen 5. We can also sit on the new Itron cellular networks, or virtually any network, wireless network that's out there. That goes over to the Itron SLV, and then over to Azure, and then onto known SCADA systems. That could be Siemens, Allen Bradley, VT SCADA, Wonderware, which is being used throughout the United States. So our goal is to interface standard instrumentation throughout every utility, throughout anywhere that you will find, and bring that data into the world of Itron. And from that, interface with any utility SCADA system. One example here is Miami-Dade, where they used to drive their trucks out to all of their sensors. They have 200 and some odd sewer flow monitoring systems. And we have completely reduced, or well, actually eliminated, just gathering up the data from all their loggers throughout the area. And anybody who's been to Miami, just driving anywhere within Miami is a nightmare. And all of this now is being done over through Itron. As part of that, though, we've also won environmental monitoring competition, in the United States. Also, the IoT Innovation Award for 2020. There's a whole group of awards that we've won using this method to significantly reduce the cost of operations for a utility.
Hi, Mark. Sorry to interrupt you. About 5 to 10 seconds left.
Okay, and we're doing this coast to coast. You named a city. We're from Miami to Los Angeles, just throughout the United States. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll open it up for a couple of minutes for questions from the judges.
Hey, Mark. A lot of the use cases that you've outlined here are relevant to water and wastewater departments and municipalities. Are you seeing any interest in electric utilities with an Itron AMI canopy allowing the use, or enabling your device to use that network for the underlying communities?
Well, the underlying communities, one of the project was not being shown here is, for example, the University of Central Florida. They have other stormwater systems, but that's for outflow. So that is for the university community. When you so all of these is for the community itself. Almost every application. For example, water quality. If there is a sanitary sewer overflow, which is wastewater going into the freshwater systems. So it's identifying these problems before, or actually eliminating that problem before it hits the homeowner.
Hey, Mark, I think it seems to me like you guys are at the right place, the right time with climate change and all that. This is becoming more and more relevant. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how your sensors connect to real-time response.
Excellent. That's we're just getting ready to do a project over in Tempe, Arizona for pressure monitoring, and there you're looking at data which, well, real time is a relative component. In the world of electrical power, we need to be on the order of about 3 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds. After that, the event is over. In the world of water, if we're there, it really depends on the transient response, which we need to be on the order of about 500 milliseconds. So real time is a relative number, if that makes sense. But we absolutely can. We're monitoring all of those values. They could be from 3 milliseconds to seconds to, it depends on the application.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mark, for your presentation.
Thank you.
That concludes the last presenter, and that would be in the utility IoT category. And that is all 4 categories for today. Joyce, I will pass it to you for the next segment while we go tally up the judges' scores.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And a huge thank you again to the presenters. You all did a fantastic job today. I know it's difficult to get yourself up and out there. We are going to have a handful of questions for the judges while we're waiting for the results to get tallied. So opening up and starting with maybe Jason Scarlett. What's one innovation tool that you're currently skeptical of and why?
Well, I would think first let's go into the definition of tool, because I think a lot of people immediately assume a software platform. Let's have an innovation platform that we're going to purchase, and that's going to solve all of our innovation kind of issues. But I would like to kind of throw out for the group that tools by its definition is really just a mechanism for making a procedure somehow easier to execute. And that does not have to be a software platform. I've worked with some companies and also seen some case studies through some of the consulting entities where, you know, they've used kind of an innovation in a box kind of platform where they have pre-printed some, you know, helpful tools for groups as they meet and they work to solve problems. And it kind of is something, and sometimes they even include gift cards so they can go out and prototype certain fees depending on, you know, what your organization allows. I think that's a really effective way of using tools, but I would highly recommend if you're involved in an innovation program, you know, waiting out that first year before buying one of these platforms and really kind of figure out what your culture is really available. Also work with your IT folks to see if you can make it easy and it's not something that you're going to a separate area to kind of do, but it's embedded into the things that people are already in. So they're more likely to kind of use it. So skeptical people on day one buying a software innovation platform, I guess that would be the tool that I'd be most skeptical of.
Thank you so much. Any other judges want to weigh in on a tool or a process that they're most skeptical of?
Well, I agree with Jason 100%. I think that people are what we need to work on in the company before working with tools. Everybody thinks innovation is a good idea, but most people really don't like to do it. They like to talk about it, but not doing it. So I think I would definitely agree with him, working on people first before working on tools.
Thank you so much, Roberto. Appreciate that. For me, while and other judges may be waiting, I think for me, the blockchain applications, those are very specific use cases in which blockchain is really applicable and really effective. But having a blockchain doesn't necessarily make your solution more robust. At times it can even slow down development or get in the way, or it doesn't actually have some value add. Would one of our other judges like to contribute?
I'll just throw on a little bit more, just as I kind of went through and judged some of these sessions, one of a common theme that I saw is really knowing your competition and how your solution kind of stacks up with other ones. And then, to turn that around, or, for a utility person or, a new startup trying to figure out how to solve a problem, there's always this, pitfall of not asking customer questions, and figuring out what it is. Already have a predetermined solution in mind, and then trying to figure that out. When I do mentor, Joyce and I have worked, and Andy Littlejohn, I think, is on the thing as well. We've worked directly in the community in San Antonio with university students as they do the thing, and a lot of them are engineers and things, and they just go right to the coming up with the solution without making sure we fully understand the question before. So I think your blockchain is kind of like that. We have the solution, we want to impose it onto everything that we see, and maybe that's not the right choice. And the only way to get yourself out of that thing is to survey a lot of people, and as soon as you think you have enough, do twice as much. And that's mostly what I see with new startups.
Yeah, and it's not just like smaller startups too, right? Like larger companies struggle with this. And I think especially if you have really large portfolios, it can get really complicated to make sure that you're doing all of your due diligence and your customer discovery, though there are more resources at hand to make sure that those things are being accomplished. To kind of move this in a little bit of a positive note, like what's innovative tool, what's one innovative tool or process that you currently can't live without? And this doesn't have to apply to the industry, but I would love to hear from maybe Roberto. What's one thing that you can't live without these days?
Well, so the answer is actually pretty simple. It is the business model canvas, and everybody, you just mentioned customer discovery. I know hardly nobody does it. And I think, the question I ask the most that makes me look really smart is, who is your customer? It's unbelievable that I can ask just that question week over week, to everybody. And I really look very smart because they look at me like, oh, I haven't thought about that. And just customer discovery, find out what is the value proposition, who is the customer, and map it in the business model canvas for me is one of the best tools. I mean, we develop actually a tool around the business model canvas that evaluate the risk of a project. And actually we made it available for free, through our Idea Labs website. And it just rolls down to a single value that is a risk value. And what we need to do is to reduce the risk of the project based on the canvas. So that's what I would recommend.
I think that's a great recommendation. As Jason mentioned, we've done a lot of work mentoring startups and other companies in the San Antonio, primarily Austin area. But business model canvas, lean model canvas, I think when people think about how to get started on big ideas, they feel like they have to throw themselves and all of their money into this solution, when actually a lot of problems can be solved ahead of time by working through a canvas and really identifying those areas of risk.
We kill most projects before we build anything. I think we kill about 90% of the project we start. And I think a big percentage is without building anything, before we can build anything.
Yeah, I think that percentage is pretty accurate. There was a saying in college when I was there about, being a writer and you have to kill your darlings. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs or ideators get really attached to the idea more so than what problems they're solving. Any other judge want to mention a tool or process that they just can't live without these days?
I'll just throw on to Roberto's kind of comment, because I think it was exceptionally salient to the issue. And again, I'll kind of focus on my friend Andy Littlejohn at Epicenter. They teach a program of their new startups through a Wendy Kennedy is the program. And there are 3 questions they ask, Roberto, just kind of similar to what you were saying. And it's so what, who cares, and why you? And, I think those 3 questions need to be asked of, each kind of new idea and if you're going to bring it to market. So, I really appreciate your comments. It really kind of spawned me to think of that.
I think it's also more difficult for corporate innovation, because when you're in a startup, you're actually, the people who ask you those questions are the people that are going to fund your company. So you got to listen to them. And in a company is not actually true, because management and executives don't have to listen to you. I mean, you don't have to listen to you. So it's working in an existing culture. It's much more challenging than working in a new culture of a startup.
Yeah, and Joyce, I don't want to take over your moderating, but I'd really like to go into that culture thing. And one of the things that I did at a former utility was to work on that, because the employees don't know. I mean, you can certainly give them, here are the challenges that we want you to work on, and be very structured in your innovation programs. But a lot of them, if they've been in the utility for a long period of time, they just don't have the tool sets to do that. So one of the things that we did when we had our top innovator kind of program, we put them through, that Wendy Kennedy program to teach them to think that way. And then the idea is that they would eventually become ambassadors within the organization to chip away at that. Oh, we can't do that. We've never done it that way, before here. So, it's a long game, but to do the change and to get over the institutional inertia takes some different.
And I think you need to be patient. You need to dedicate the time. I mean, we have an internal Shark Tank, and every quarter, and whoever wins actually get to work on the project with us, and it's open to anybody. And I think it's really interesting, because people can see how to work through that process, and then they can bring it back to their group. And a lot of time they become impatient when they go back, right? Because they see a different way of doing it.
No, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah. At Avista, we've got an innovation group, and it's been about 7 years, I guess, that we've been intentionally working on innovation. And the first thing you have to overcome is the kibosh culture, as we call it, because there's always no, we can't do that because we never have, or because of, I don't even know why, it's some reason. So now we have the how might we culture. So whenever somebody says we can't do it for whatever reason, somebody who's been involved with us will say, oh, well, but how might we get there? And I'll tell you that flips the whole discussion, because now it's like, I just challenge, you said no, but I just challenge you to make it work. So how might you make that work? And it doesn't have to be make it work from every angle, but it's how might it work? And then you start exploring that side, and it's resulted in a lot of patents that we've received lately, and a couple of companies that we've started in the last year and a half. So it's finally starting to really take hold culturally. And although we're probably still only 30% of the company is exposed to that, it's starting to gain that momentum that becomes a snowball.
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great progress. You know, changing processes, particularly within a large organization, and a cultural process at that, you know, and a mindset can take time, but it's great to see that you guys are approaching it. There's a really great like improv exercise, and it's you go through a couple of scenarios and throw out ideas, and the first response is no, because, and you shoot down all the things and you give the reasons as to why that wouldn't work. And then the next part of the exercise is you say yes, and it really is interesting to see the mindset shift on how you can go from a no, this isn't going to work, to a yes, this can work, and this is how it's going to work, or this is what we can do on top of it. So in addition to some of the entrepreneurial events or ideations or processes that can be implemented at companies of any size, you know, throwing a little improv in there can also help with the brainstorming session. I actually just heard from Sarah that we have the winners ready to go. So before I do that, I really would like to just kind of explain, you know, what the winners get out of all of this. And of course, we get bragging rights, but seriously, winners of the competition will benefit from this increased awareness of solutions in the market and with Itron's and within Itron's network customer base, as well as with marketing, sales, and channel organizations. Winners are also going to be featured in an Itron press release on the website and promoted during Itron Inspire, Itron's premier customer event. Zpryme will also feature the winners in a press release and marketing channels. All finalists will also benefit from the feedback they receive from our panel of industry expert judges. Thank you again, which will enable them to tailor both their products and their pitches to utility and smart community customer audiences. So without further ado, congratulations are in order for the grid management and distribution automation category, Sentient Energy. Woo! I wish we could do applause. In the next category for smart cities, we have Cleverciti as a winner. Thank you very much. Distributed intelligence, we have Bidgely. And our final winner for utility IoT is New Cosmos. So everybody, you know, pat yourselves on the back. This was a really exciting day. Congratulations to all of the winners. We saw amazing presentations, and we were able to see firsthand the awesomeness and groundbreaking work that you are all achieving. We wish each company nothing but the best in their future endeavors, and are excited to see how we will all succeed. Just so you know, some housekeeping stuff, this event has been recorded and will be shared with all attendees in the coming days, so be on the lookout. And with that, thank you again, judges and Itron. We really appreciate you all, and to the Zpryme team for holding it down today. With that, I hope everybody has a really great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Good job, everyone.